Vietnam looks like a dream on your screen: cheap street food, beautiful coastlines, warm weather year-round, a cost of living that makes your home country feel embarrassing. And honestly, a lot of it is true. But here's what nobody is showing you in those travel vlogs: the expats who left after 2 years, the ones who came back home quietly, the ones who say they wish someone had been honest with them before they packed their bags. This video is for them, and for you. Before you make the same mistake, Vietnam has become one of the most popular destinations in the world for expats, digital nomads, retirees, and remote workers. And the reasons are obvious. The food is incredible, the people are friendly, the internet is fast, and your money goes far, at least on paper. But there is a version of Vietnam that the travel influencers never show you. One that only reveals itself after month 3, or month 6, or when something goes wrong. We are going to talk about that version today, not to scare you away from Vietnam, but to make sure that if you go in with open eyes. Let's start with the one thing that keeps every single expat up at night. Number 1, the visa trap. Vietnam does not have a clear, unstable, long-term visa pathway for most foreigners. Let that sink in. You can visit easily. You can stay for a few months, but legally living in Vietnam long-term, that is a different conversation entirely. For years, the most common strategy was the visa run, leaving the country every 30 to 90 days just to re-enter and reset your stay. Expats flew to Bangkok, or Phnom Penh, or Singapore, just to keep their status legal. The e-visa system has improved since 2023. It now covers citizens from all countries, and many nationalities get 45-day visa-free entry. That sounds generous, but 45 days is not a life. The bigger issue is this: Vietnam's visa policy changes without much warning. Rules that worked fine for years suddenly tighten. Immigration offices start asking more questions. Expats who have lived here for 3 years wake up one morning unsure if their next extension will go through. The government has proposed a golden visa system, a 5 to 10 year option for investors and skilled professionals. But as of now, it is still a proposal, not a reality. And this is where many people make a critical mistake. They build a life here assuming the rules will stay the same. They don't. If you are serious about staying long-term, you need a work permit tied to a legitimate employer, a temporary residence card, or a very clear legal strategy. Not a plan based on YouTube comments, not a strategy you heard from someone at a hostel. The visa situation is manageable, but only if you plan for it before you arrive. Number 2, the traffic and pollution reality. Let's talk about something that travel videos almost never show: the air. According to the United Nations Development Program, Vietnam's PM 2.5 levels were nearly 6 times above WHO recommended limits in 2023. 6 times. In early 2024, Hanoi was ranked the 8th most polluted city in the world. And in late 2024, Australia's ambassador to Vietnam cut his posting in Hanoi short, citing air quality as the reason his family had to leave. This is not a local problem being exaggerated. This is documented, measurable, and it affects you every single day. Between November and March, pollution spikes dramatically due to temperature inversion. Some days, you wake up and the sky looks like fog. It is not fog. Then there is the traffic. Vietnam reported over 21,000 road accidents in 2024. Nearly 10,000 people died. That is roughly 27 people every single day. Most expats ride motorbikes. It feels fun at first. It feels local. It feels free. But the roads here operate on a completely different logic than what most Westerners are used to. Red lights are suggestions, lanes are optional, and the sheer volume of vehicles in HCMC and Hanoi means that a minor mistake can have serious consequences. This is the part that confuses most newcomers. They see locals navigate it effortlessly and think they can too. Some can, but the statistics do not lie. If you are moving to Vietnam long term, Factor in the cost of a good air purifier, a quality mask, and comprehensive health insurance from day one. Not as an afterthought, as a necessity. Number 3, the healthcare problem. Here is something most YouTube videos about moving to Vietnam completely skip over. What happens when you get seriously sick? Vietnam has public hospitals. They are often overcrowded, underfunded, and the language barrier alone can turn a manageable situation into a nightmare. International hospitals exist. In Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City, there are good ones, but good in this context means expensive. Very expensive. A basic consultation at an international clinic can cost between $50 and $100 USD. A short hospital stay can cost thousands. Major surgery or a serious illness, you are looking at costs that can wipe out your savings. And here's the part that really catches people off guard. Even with international health insurance, getting claims processed in Vietnam can be complicated and slow. Many long-term expats have a different strategy. They fly to Bangkok. Bumrungrad Hospital in Thailand has become the go-to option for serious medical care across Southeast Asia. It is closer than you think. And in many cases, it is cheaper and more efficient than going through the international hospital system in Vietnam. This is not a criticism of Vietnam's medical professionals. It is simply the reality of the infrastructure available to foreigners right now. Before you move here, make sure you have comprehensive international health insurance, a plan for what you do. If something serious happens, and enough emergency savings to fly somewhere for treatment if needed, do not discover this reality from a hospital bed. Number 4, the cultural barrier. Nobody talks about Vietnam as one of the friendliest countries in Southeast Asia. People smile, people help, locals are genuinely warm and welcoming to foreigners. But here is where things get complicated. And this is the part that almost nobody talks about honestly. Surface friendliness and deep friendship are two completely different things. Vietnamese culture operates on a concept sometimes called face, the idea that social harmony matters more than direct confrontation. What this means in practice is that people will rarely tell you no directly. They will smile and nod. They will agree to something they have no intention of doing. They will tell you what they think you want to hear. Not because they are dishonest, but because maintaining harmony is genuinely more important in this culture than blunt Western-style directness. For business dealing, for rental agreements, for daily interactions, this takes time to understand, and if you do not understand it, it will frustrate you constantly. Then there is what many expats quietly call the foreigner bubble. After years in Vietnam, many expats find that their entire social circle is still made up of other foreigners, not because Vietnamese people are unfriendly, but because forming deep, lasting friendships across a significant cultural and language gap is genuinely hard. It takes time. It takes language skills. It takes a willingness to enter spaces where you are not the default. Most expats do not do this work, and after a while, they realize they are living in Vietnam geographically, but not really living in Vietnam at all. If connection and community matter to you, go in with a plan, learn the language, even at a basic level. It changes everything. Number 5, the cost of living illusion. Vietnam is so cheap. You will hear this constantly, and for some people, it is completely true. If you eat at local restaurants, rent away from expat neighborhoods, and live a genuinely local lifestyle, yes, you can live on very little. But here is what the YouTube videos are not showing you. Most expats do not live like locals. They want Western food sometimes. They want an apartment with reliable hot water and air conditioning. They want a gym. They want to travel on weekends. They want occasional comforts from home. And the moment you start wanting those things, the math changes. According to data from Numbeo and Expat forums, a realistic monthly budget for a single expat living comfortably in Ho Chi Minh City or Hanoi is between $1,500 and $2,500 USD per month. That includes a decent apartment in an expat-friendly neighborhood. In areas like Tai Ho in Hanoi or Thao Dien in Ho Chi Minh City, a one-bedroom apartment alone can cost $700 to $1,200 per month. That is before food, before health insurance, before transport, before visa costs, before the inevitable trips to Bangkok for medical care. This is still cheaper than most Western cities, but it is not the $500 a month life that certain videos will have you believe. And there is another issue. Rents in expat neighborhoods have been rising steadily, year on year. The cheap Vietnam that older expats talk about is becoming harder to find in the major cities. Go in with a realistic number, not an optimistic one. Number 6, scams. Overcharging and the foreigner tax. Most travelers notice this within the first week. Prices that change depending on who is asking, in markets, in certain restaurants, in taxis, and sometimes in rental negotiations. Foreigners are routinely quoted a different price than locals. Sometimes the difference is small, sometimes it is not. And over months and years of daily life, it adds up, in ways that quietly erode the cheap country feeling. The common scams are well documented on expat forums, taxi meters that run suspiciously fast, motorbike rental deposits that never come back, fixed price tours that are not fixed at all, currency confusion that somehow always goes in one direction. Most of these are minor inconveniences on a short trip. But living here long term means navigating this constantly. And the frustration is less about the money and more about the feeling that you will never quite be treated the same as everyone else. That feeling does not go away quickly. And for some expats, it never fully goes away. Number 7, the mental health side. This is probably the section most people skip in their research, and it is the one that ends the most Vietnam experiences prematurely. The first few months in Vietnam feel incredible. Everything is new. Everything is exciting. The food, the chaos, the cheapness, the novelty. It is a constant rush, but novelty fades. And what comes after novelty is where it gets honest. Many expats describe hitting a wall somewhere around month 4 to 7. The excitement has worn off. The cultural frustrations are piling up. The loneliness, which was always there underneath, suddenly becomes visible. Vietnam has a limited mental health support infrastructure in English. A 2019 report by the British government on expat health in Vietnam noted that access to qualified English-speaking therapists is limited outside major cities. There is also a pattern that expat communities do not talk about publicly, but it comes up constantly. In honest forums and long-term expat conversations, people come to Vietnam to escape something. A bad breakup, a career that went nowhere, a life they did not want anymore. Vietnam is an incredible place to arrive in. It is not always an easy place to heal in. If you are moving here, build community from day one, stay connected to people back home. Have a support structure that is not just the expat bar on Friday nights. Your mental health travels with you. Number 8, bureaucracy and the legal gray zones. Now here is the section that most expats only learn about the hard way. The bureaucracy. Vietnam has a well-developed system of rules for foreigners. The problem is, and those rules are not always clearly communicated. They change without formal announcement, and the gap between what is technically legal and what people actually do is enormous. Let's start with work. Working legally in Vietnam as a foreigner requires a work permit. To get a work permit, you need a sponsoring employer, clean background check, certified and notarized documents from your home country, and proof of qualifications relevant to your role. The process takes weeks, sometimes months, and it needs to be renewed. Because of this, a huge number of expats work without one. English teachers on tourist visas, freelancers and remote workers operating in a legal gray area, small business owners whose actual arrangement does not match their visa category. Most of the time, nothing happens, but most of the time is not a legal strategy. If immigration authorities or labor inspectors inspectors decide to look closely at your workplace, at your visa history, at your business, the consequences can include fines, deportation, and a ban from re-entry. Then there is property. Foreigners cannot own land in Vietnam. Full stop. You can hold a long-term lease. You can purchase an apartment unit, but only under strict conditions, with ownership limited to 50-year terms in certain zones, and with restrictions on how many units in a building foreigners can own. And rental agreements? Disputes between landlords and foreign tenants are common. Deposits disappear. Verbal agreements made with a smile mean nothing in a Vietnamese courtroom. Without a local lawyer and local connections, you have very little leverage. The deepest issue with Vietnamese bureaucracy is this. Rules can change overnight, without public announcement, without transition period. What was tolerated last year may not be tolerated this year. What your visa agent told you 6 months ago may no longer be accurate. Expats who have been here for years still get caught off guard. Stay informed, get proper legal advice, and never assume that because something has worked until now, it will keep working. None of what you just heard is a reason to avoid Vietnam. Vietnam is still one of the most extraordinary places on Earth. The culture, the food, the landscapes, the energy of its cities, the people who thrive here long-term are not the ones who arrived expecting paradise. They are the ones who arrived prepared. They got their visa strategy right before they landed. They budgeted honestly. They invested in their health, air, water, insurance. They built real community. And they went in, understanding that Vietnam is not a backdrop for your life. It is a country, a real, complex, fascinating country, with all the beauty and difficulty that comes with that. Go in with open eyes, and it will be worth every single day.